Well, good morning. Welcome to Coffee with the Pastor. Glad you've tuned in today. We're going through the book of Mark. Today we're in Mark chapter 2. We're going to do verses 18 through 27. And we're going to talk about fasting. We're going to talk about how Jesus was questioned about fasting. Now, through the Sermon on the Mount, we realized that Jesus believed in fasting, taught him to fast. He said, when you fast, not if you fast, but when you fast. But he never wanted to make it a sense of rules and regulations and ritual. And we're going to see that. And verse 18, it says, now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Now they had fast days. I believe they were on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They fasted all day long. And they would fast from sun up to sundown on that day. So basically in some ways they missed lunch. But some people came and asked Jesus, how is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours are not? And they're wondering because, fasting's a very spiritual thing to do. That's a thing that spiritual people do. So he came and said, why aren't your people fasting? And listen to how Jesus answered. He said, how can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. And Jesus is just saying, I'm with them. You don't expect a bridegroom to fast on his wedding day, and you don't expect the wedding party to do that. He said, I'm with them, so it's not time to fast. The time will come, they'll need to fast. We know Jesus fasted. He fasted 40 days in the desert. And then he talks about no one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. Back when we used to patch clothes, we knew that if you put a new piece of cloth on an old garment, that new piece of cloth would stretch and it would shrink and it would cause a problem. And he says if he does, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. So he pours new wine into new wineskins. They made the wineskins out of animal skin, and they would make a new one for a new batch of wine because the new wine would have gases and things and would be going, and the new wineskins could stretch out. But if you took old wineskins where you drank the wine and you try to put new wine in it, it would just burst it. So it was not something they did. And he said, what I'm doing here is new. This isn't like the Pharisees. It's not like John the Baptist even. It's new. And you're going to figure that out. And then verse 23, the Pharisees are going to get involved about the Sabbath. He said, one Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and as his disciples walked along, they began to pick some grains of grain. The Pharisees said to him, look, why are you doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath? And so the Pharisees' rules, and they were the Pharisees' rules. They weren't the Old Testament. And, the Pharisees fasted twice a week. Moses only required one fast day a year, and that was on Yom Kippur. Now the disciples are getting some heads and rolling it on the Sabbath, and they're eating it. They've been seen by the Pharisees, and they're questioning him. And Jesus is going to answer them, have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? He said, in the days of Abiathar, the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for the priest to eat. He also gave some to his companions. He said, when David and them were starving, they were hungry, they went in and they ate the priest's bread that was not intended for, they were offerings to God, and only the priest could eat them. And David was in need, and he ate them, and nothing was bad about that. It didn't hurt anything. made the Bible. And then he said to them, the Sabbath was not made for man. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, he said, God didn't make the Sabbath to penalize and to make it hard for humans. He made it as a day that would be for them, a day of rest, a day of relaxation, a day of enjoyment. He said, you're trying to take this beautiful day and do that. And then he tells them something that's going to tick them off, I'm sure. He says, so the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. He refers to himself as the Son of Man. Son of Man comes from Daniel 7, and it refers to the Messiah. So basically, Jesus says, listen, I'm in charge of the Sabbath. And that would have been startling to them. That would have been part of that. And let me ask you today about your practices. I think there's nothing wrong with fasting. I think there's everything good with it. Fasting, if something horrible happens in your life, sometimes it's good to fast, or sometimes if you need to be humbled and you just need to understand that God is God, it's good to fast. It's good to have a Sabbath day of rest, but never make it pharisaical, or never make it where it's a mandatory rule thing. Make it where it's pleasurable, where you're growing and getting closer to God about it. Well, we'll continue with chapter 3 tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You have a great day.